So a lot of people come out to Tiny Texas houses and are inspired by what's going on here. They're inspired that we're taking salvaged materials and building new houses with them. One of the most common questions we have is, how can I do this myself? How can I go about salvaging materials and building my own house? In this video, we have Brad Cattell sit down and explain how he started his business and how, if you want to, you can do it yourself. Enjoy. Alright, so tell us, Brad, how did you get this company started? How did it all begin? How can someone do it themselves if they're interested in doing so?
Well, in the sense of how it all began, effectively it began by fixing up old houses. And this is something you'll find in most of the old neighborhoods that are pretty dilapidated, where they've gone through their cycle of being really good. And going out and trying to fix up just trashed out houses that most people think are just deserve to be torn down. Crack houses, basically, stuff like that. Cleaning them up, fixing them up. Well, after about 10 years of that, I figured out finally, even though I was quite successful at it, that I'd accumulated all these windows and doors and parts and pieces because I didn't want to use new stuff. And this is the way you effectively start the business, oddly enough, is by accumulating the things that you need to go ahead and build tiny houses with. I went on from rehabbing houses to creating discovery architectural antiques. That was effectively a business that sold all the parts and pieces that I was collecting by taking down all the houses. And you get the houses virtually for free. And what you have to basically accumulate is a 16-foot trailer, a truck that'll pull it safely without breaking down and getting in an accident, crowbars, hammers, nail pullers, specialty tools that we can basically make, or you can make, but you can find, and you can effectively take down houses without much more than that. Saws, a couple sawzalls, a couple circular saws, but really simple stuff that you can buy at a market. Generally, I like garage sales. Estate sales are really good because you can find a lot of stuff that tools that you'd ordinarily pay. Ordinarily, for example, a hammer, a good hammer is $30 in the store. A good crowbar, old American, hard, won't break when you pull on it, so you don't end up your butt or off the edge of a building. Get an old tool that was made well, and you might spend $18 on a tool that would cost you $60. On a hammer, you might get it for $12. If it's an old S-Wing or something like that, know your brand names. Go and look at the best ones in the store, and when you're out of the market, look for those.
And so what you're saying is this business is accessible almost to anyone that wants to pursue it. Just getting the right tools. Finding materials is accessible too. You can go out and you can salvage these materials from older structures. I mean, how do you go about doing that? Explain that process.
Well, once you find out you can get the tools either by working with other people that already have them. A lot of times you might not have the truck, the trailer, or the tools, but you have the right property you found. Now, how do you find properties? Well, it could be you just know that Uncle Joe has an old barn out there, and you found out that the barn's got good tin and good 1x12 and all that. You can pull off of it. On the other hand, it might be something you have to go out and look for. You don't have an Uncle Ben or an Uncle Barn at somebody's house. Anything you tear down that you know. So you go out and hunt. Hunting's pretty simple. Let's, for example, the easiest way I can think of is let's go down to the local city hall in a small town. They probably have a small budget for tearing down those dilapidated old houses that are just an eyesore in the probably worst parts of town. Sometimes they're in a good part of town and the neighbors are complaining and they want it taken down or fixed up. So they file a condemnation order on it. And if they don't take it down, then the city goes ahead and takes bids from people to tear them down and haul off all the trash and leave a clean lot. And then they file a lien against the property, so the owner is going to pay the bill, or if you can't pay the lien, they'll take the property away and sell it on the courthouse steps for the value of the lien. So let's say it's $3,000 is what they're going to charge to tear that house down and haul it away. Now they're just going to scrap the house, put it in a dumpster, haul it to the dump, and you're going to pay a fee to dump all that waste. Everything goes nowhere. Effectively, no house is built, no future is made out of it. Instead, you go in there and you look at A, bidding it. So normally they bid $3,000. So you bid $2,000. You bid $1,500. You're still being paid to take down a house you want to take down anyway. Ideally, what this is supposed to do is pay for the trash. The second thing you do is you go out and find Mr. Joe or Mr. Harry or whoever it is that owns that piece of property, maybe inherited it. Maybe it's a whole group of them. Maybe it's 5 kids and they just can't make up their mind who's going to live in it. It's just going to heck because nobody will pay anything to keep it up. Well, when something like that happens, they need somebody to come in and offer to take that down for them. And I believe in owner financing it at no % interest, such as you basically do it for, say you do it for $2,000 because they're going to have a lien slapped on them for $3,000 if it gets bid, because you know chances are you're going to get the bid. So the idea is to go ahead and get them $25 a month. Might take them 5 years to pay it. The property itself is going to be collateral, and all you're doing is you're offering to take it all down. They pay you monthly, and you'll get rid of it. The problem's gone. No more bad people hanging out in the house. No more sitting on their butts, cleaning it up, taking care of it, boarding up the windows, etc. Problem gone. Meanwhile, you got yourself one incredible house that everybody thought was trash, and you walk away with $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 worth of wood, windows, doors, flooring, bathtubs, sinks, just made with lighting. I mean, just it's endless what you can find in an old house, and that's if you're not so lucky as to maybe also get all the goodies. It's amazing how many times you run into just boxes full of fun stuff.
And so you're saying this is a lucrative business?
Oh, it's a very lucrative business. In fact, you can hit one house that can be a gold mine. It can set you up only because it takes a good eye to spot it. But some of the best goodies are bought in garage sales where people didn't even know what they were. I mean, pictures, jewelry, all this stuff. So half of it is getting in your hands. So you run into a house. I had one guy who was tearing a house down, and all of his guys, he left that afternoon, left them going at it. And they pulled the attic down and pulled all the trash out of the attic and threw it all over in a big pile and started fire. Well, he comes in there the next morning, and he's looking through the ashes, and he sees 2 big old 1-gallon coffee cans with the metal lids pressed back on them like they always used to do in the old days for plastic. He went over there, and sure as heck he opened it up, it had been full of money. All turned to ash, little bits of it left. Basically, 2 coffee cans full of cash. You never know what you're going to find in an old house. You might find books and start flipping through the pages, and there's some old $50 bill, $100 bills in there. It's all in knowing what you're looking for. Last time around, we found a little ring, a little diamond ring. Tiny little finger, but it was stuck in just the sill of a door. The treasures you'll find with the metal detector that are stuck underneath the house, the old marbles, it is so lucrative if you know what you're getting. Now, some people tear them down and burn them. It's not very lucrative. I mean, admittedly, it's cheap, doesn't take a lot of labor, just match and make sure it doesn't start anything on fire, but this is about as stupid as you can get.
Right.
It's fun, but it's stupid. Now, there's another way, taking a track hoe, taking a bulldozer, crunching it up, and then hauling it to the dump in a big truck. That's $850 a load to take it to the dump to bury it, and for the rest of the time, it's worthless.
Right. And
that doesn't make any sense.
What are some of the houses that you target specifically? I mean, as opposed to going to Home Depot and buying this new cheap wood, I know you target older houses, correct?
Absolutely. The beauty of the old wood is that the older it was when it was cut, the stronger it is and the longer life it's going to have into the future. So if you take a 500-year-old tree and cut it down, chances are it could actually survive 500 years of being used or longer. There are trees in Europe and the Orient that have been around for thousands of years. So it's just a matter of what, you take quality wood. Now you take new wood, it hasn't got a chance of surviving because the bug's going to eat it. It's like candy. So why would I want to put new wood in there if I'm going to build something I want to last? So the idea is, in order to build a quality item, you have to use quality materials. Well, the last of our quality materials are the very things that are sitting in all these houses and all these buildings and all these barns. Quality iron made out of the purest of mineral, ore that we found, and wood from the best of the best trees. And all of it put together by the best of the best artisans who come from Italy and Europe, Romania, all over the world to build mansions and buildings for the great American empire to come into existence. These are all, incidentally, I might point out, these were all immigrants. These were all not Americans. They all came from other places. And their hard energy, your great-great-great-grandfathers, they're the ones that made all this stuff. I'm not of the school we throw it in the dump. I'm of the school we go ahead and save it all. And this is, so it's not just that you're going to make a lot of money off of it if you get into it. It's lucrative, but it will pay for your family. You'll get houses and homes for your family. You'll get houses and homes for your friends that you can sell them at any price you want because it won't cost you that much to build if they're also helping you take down those houses and participating so that they get the product of their energy that they put into it. That's what's so important here. You don't want to just give something to somebody. Now, they may be orchestrating it because they have a bad back. They can't pick anything up. They may not swing a nail, or a hammer rather, pound a nail. But they may have the truck. They may have the trailer. They may have the ability to go ahead and do the documents, keep track of everything, keep the numbers, how much came down, how do we do this week. You know, these are all things that everybody has their place. Some guy's going to be a perfect nail puller. Another guy, he's going to, now me, I'm good for 20 minutes, I'm good for an hour. Especially with the nail puller I got now, a shooter. Bang, bang, shoots the nail out backwards. That's fun for a while. But again, not for me all day long. Somebody else is going to have a ball. And this is the whole idea, the right person for the right job. The right person is going to be out there building it because he's got the mind for it and he's got the imagination. You can put these pieces that are dissimilar together to create beautiful things. That's one person. The person that's stacking it all, keeping it organized, keeping it on the shelves, so all the beadboard is with the beadboard and the flooring is with the flooring. These warehouse centers have to occur, so all these things have to happen. The process of getting into the business is that once you get it, what do you do with it? The pile syndrome is you can't leave it all outside, get rained on, put plastic on, and it's going to rot. Bugs are going to eat it. It's going to come apart. You got to use it, sell it, store it properly, or lose it. And now, believe me, I've seen many, many, many collections of stuff over the years lost to rain, bugs, and all the other things, just warped from the line and pile wasn't stacked right or stacked wrong and have water get in the middle of it. Mm-hmm. This is the whole point, is it's not just getting it, it's using it, and that's why we have to have the whole chain. I got into building because I finally realized I had the biggest collection of stuff in the United States. I have 130,000 square foot of stuff under roof in warehouses. The idea is now to put it to purpose, to put it to use. So I started with Tiny Texas Houses, just as you would start if you got a big pile of stuff, and to saying, how can I use this in such a way that people will want to buy it and understand its value rather than just selling to them as decorations. People use my windows. Wow, this make really pretty. Yes, they make a couple of these would be nice, couple doors. How about we build the whole house? How about we build the whole whatever size house, but a tiny house? Wow, we make it portable. Wow, I mean, like they did in the 1800s. That's the idea. So you start building a tiny house for you, and a tiny house for your mom to live next door, and a tiny house for your kid who's 18 years old, 17 years old, 16 years old, 15 years old. Fine. It's right near the house. It's their bedroom. They take it with them. If they want to go, they get married, they have a place. The idea is to grow with your house. And so a small person, a small business doesn't need a big house. You're out working all the time. You come home, you eat, you sleep, you wake up, you go work. You love it. If you're doing what we're doing, you love it because all the time, wow, here's another house. Oh, somebody, you're tearing yours down. Somebody says, hey, can you stop by and look at mine? I'd like you to tear mine down too. I just need to get rid of it. And you go, another free house? Yeah, I can make it by there tonight. I got a sandwich and run. I'll be over there before dark. And next thing you know, you got 10 more free houses. How do you get started? You do one. You do it right. You do an honorable job. Make sure you clean up after yourself. Don't get hurt. Don't have anybody get hurt. Make sure that everybody knows you're responsible. You take safety precautions. And that way, when you're done, the job is clean, everything was cool, you're going to have 10 more jobs lined up in a small town because they need to get them off their property too because they're just an eyesore. Yep. They're a tax nightmare. They're dangerous because the neighbor's kids are getting in there, could fall through the floor, or they might be doing drugs in there or worse things. And they don't want to go over there and kick them out because they're afraid of getting hurt. All people have a problem with that. How do you protect a property when you can't go over there with a gun? So let us take it off. You still keep the land. It might have been left to you by your grandma. You can't afford to fix it up. It's in a bad neighborhood. Let us take the problem off your hands. To do that, small businesses have to be developed. Why? I believe in the family business. I believe in the family business because that way I pay Harry, the daddy, $500, say. Instead of me paying $100 to Harry, $100 to each of the 5 sons. Because if I pay each of the sons $100, 30% of that goes to the government. Well, if I pay Harry, his sons become an expense. That he's able to expense all that off, and very little of it ever makes it to Uncle Sam because it's basically done through bartering and exchange and methods that do not actually have income tax to them. Legally they don't. So the idea is turn this into family businesses so then I empower Harry and his boys to now become an independent business. Now, you know what? They could have made $1,000 that week between them, or by having the opportunity, they made instead $5,000. Why? Because they did 5 times as much work because they got as much wood collected as they were willing to collect and got paid for that amount of work. Not by the hour, but by how much they produced. Windows, doors, all these things that I mentioned before, those all pay back. So if it takes you 15 minutes to pop a window and the window makes you $35 and you pop 4 of them in an hour, that's $120 an hour for 2 guys. That ain't bad. Mm-hmm. So the idea is, even though you're not making a lot of money per unit, on a wholesale level, there's a good income. Now doors, if you pop the trim in an old house and pull the nails on the other side of the trim door and everything come out, it takes you 20 minutes to pop a door. A door might be anywhere from $35 to $150. And if you get your own booth in a salvage fair like we're going to create, you bring your stuff in, And on weekends, your wife or somebody's over there selling it. You have somebody over there that's not doing the nail pulling stuff, and all of a sudden, instead of $35, you got $150 because you became part of the retail element. Or you took it up to salvage fair and you consigned it. Therefore, instead of having been paid $35, you might have gotten $70 because you waited until they got paid when they sold it for you to get paid. You make more money. You invested in it and were part of the risk. So the idea behind the outposts, the Pure Salvage Outpost, is it gives people the opportunity to share the risk and get more money, or just go ahead and bring your stuff in and drop it off because you need those dishes, or you need those clothes, or you need that food right now, and you should have the right to be able to cash in. So the idea is to make it where you can cash in, and otherwise, as a small business, if you can't cash in, you can't buy groceries.
Yeah. So explain some of the laws and codes you have to deal with being in the salvage business for 20 years. I'm sure you've come across a lot of them and have to deal with them and found loopholes, so to speak.
Key word is loopholes. For as long as we can preserve the ones we have, and more importantly, to create new ones in the future. The issues we run into in trying to create tiny houses or tiny house living inside of communities especially is that most communities over the years have tended to adopt national code, or have adopted codes that favor the banks and the insurance companies, saying that you have to have a minimum of 1,000 square feet, for example. In part, the cities did it because they needed to have larger houses to support the utilities, under the theory that growing and getting bigger is better in the consumerism world. What that amounts to is, we want to go ahead and say I can have 5 houses using the same amount of utilities as one normal house, and 5 families on the same lot, having a garden and everything else, and get better use of that. That reduces the city's utilities for those 5 families by a ratio of 5. So now I don't have to have a bigger septic system or a bigger sewer plant. I don't have to have more electrical resources being provided, so the town doesn't have to expand its electrical plant or pay more for oil-based, higher expensive, more expensive utilities. The idea is to basically figure out ways to go ahead and downsize where the people that have the stuff, the older houses, the barns, and all that stuff, can now contribute by donating those and having them taken down. When they take the best 500 square foot of their house, their living room, their kitchen, their beautiful decorations outside, and we make them a beautiful tiny Texas house, or tiny Vermont house, or tiny wherever we're making it. But the idea is it's a pure salvage house made out of the pieces and parts that they're already are fond of and known for, in some cases, decades. That's existed for centuries. We take those parts and pieces and we build something new that's insulated, that doesn't take anything new out of the earth, basically carries the old forward. Now that still leaves a whole lot of house in a lot of these cases. These are big old houses that people haven't even been upstairs for years. They're older people and a lot of stuff upstairs stored, but not much activity. So all that goes on to become houses for their grandchildren, or scholarships for their kids, or flooring and windows for maybe houses for 3 other family members. And this becomes their contribution to the local Pure Salvage Outpost, which is effectively an outpost where we can bring all of our life resources together, teach people preventative medicine, herbal medicine, what the old timers have to offer us about how we took care of ourselves before the pharmaceuticals came along, to be able to go ahead and teach from the old timers how to take them on your gardens without chemicals and fertilizers, the old way we used to do it, and to be able to teach how we could get by without electricity if we wanted to. So if we want to get off grid, there's lots of old methods we used to use that were excellent before electricity came along. And these can be taught to us by the 70-year-olds and the 80-year-olds who lived those days without them. It's a process of going ahead and trying to re-engineer our society by voluntarily, each of us, saying, I want to live a simpler, more toxin-free life that takes nothing else away from our planet and gives back for the next generation and 5 generations forward. When I build a house, it is a toxin-free house that will last, be portable, be healthy for a century, 2 or 3, like they've done in other countries for a millennium or more. That's 1,000 years or more of same house, same family in many cases. We can do this before we run out of these valuable resources, before all I have left is imported plastics and vinyls that are oil-based products, and all sorts of other things that are chemicals on them because they had to spray chemicals because they imported the wood from Peru or from China, where they had all sorts of other bug problems we don't have, so they have to put pesticides on it. We can stop all this from happening by simply using what we have, rather than using new materials at Lowe's or Home Depots or other big box stores that ship our money out of the community. We take the resources of our community, all of our wood and everything, all of our windows, our doors, all of our labor out of our local community. Instead of having labor from overseas that does something cheap and ships it over here, we use local labor. We teach our children how to make a good living out of local labor, transforming all these assets we have into the new world of a simpler, toxin-free life with no imports. All American labor, all American product. Our natural virgin forests that have been tied up in all these other forms, buildings, barns, houses, can now be released again to live for another 100 years or more in new form. That's what we're headed for. And each of you can participate, and that's what will make it happen. There's a lot of little guys getting together, so instead of having one pickup, we take the buses, the old school buses, and we chop the front off. We make a little house out of that, and the back is the biggest pickup in the world. And you go out you've got 3 or 4 families, and they're living out in this, and they're taking down a barn, and they put their stuff on the back, and they go to market, and they drop off all the wood. And at that market, they can barter it instantly and just get the barter credits to go out and get the eggs, get the clothes, get the dishes, get all they need, and head back off again. That becomes a community, unity through community. All different types of people coming together. And while they're here, they can go over to the nurse's village or the massage village, the naturopathic herbal village, and pick up all the things they need. If they need some help, they can get taken care of. Just like in the old days when people went to the main town. We have one of these every 150 miles. It's a place where you can bring in what you have and trade it. No currency needed for the things you need to live. Life resources. Get your child the education to learn how to build, to learn how to take these parts and pieces and make new houses. We've got to teach this face to face, that these assets and resources are at our fingertips to be had for free. And then, what seems like a price of a house now is high, will become inexpensive because the human energy locally will build it. We're at that point. I'm ready to give it to you. Please come, enjoy.